What we've been asked to do this morning is to suggest 5 areas that anyone looking to take over council assets should consider before proceeding. Now, because our experience is, and those suggestions are going to be based on Cove Burgh Hall, I thought it might be worthwhile just taking you through what Cove Burgh Hall is. Cove Burgh Hall was built as a village hall in 1893, so it's now into its 3rd century. It's a Category C listed building, which brings a whole lot of other complications. It was owned and run by the relevant regional councils up until 1999, when again Youth said, we've had enough, it's costing too much to run, nobody's using it, we're shutting it down. Well, after a lot of, I have to say, acrimonious discussions between the community and the council, the community arrived at the decision that it was in the community's interest to take over ownership rather than seeing it closed. So that we did. The council sold the hall to the community for £1, and they gave us £50,000 towards essential repairs. After a lot of hard work, a lot of volunteer builders, painters, decorators, it opened as a community hall in 2001. Since 2001, we've spent about £160,000 on refurbishment and upgrading. That includes getting £80,000 of grant. So a lot of money has been spent to make it an acceptable place for people to meet. It's now at the heart of the community. It's in use every day. We've got some 15 local groups that are regular users, range from social, leisure education, ballroom dancers, Scottish country dancers. We've got yoga, or I could go on and on and on. It's also now a major entertainment venue for the peninsula. We've got lots of theatre activities. We've had the National Theatre for Scotland there. Lots of concerts. The Mull Theatre Club is a regular visitor. We've even had the Alexander Brothers. So, 5 areas that we think that anyone needs to look at. The first one I've suggested is mission or objectives. Now that's a bit management speak, but when you go into this, you've got to think about what is this facility going to look like in 5 or 10 years' time? How is the facility going to relate to the community? How is it going to fit into the community? Now, you can start to have a philosophical debate here about what is community, because community is changing, it's becoming more fragmented, it's becoming much more fluid. For us, we started off with a very simple mission. We'll make the place wind and watertight, we'll keep it warm, we'll keep it safe, we'll keep it clean, and we'll just let the community go on and use it. Well, that did bring some people into the hall, but it left a big gap. Lots of people are not members of groups. So how do you get the rest of the community in? So that's when we, some years later, added to our mission that we would be a theatre venue. So we now become theatre producers, and Richard Ray heads that part up, and as I say, I think we're quite successful in doing that. So that's the first thing. Second thing I've just said is community involvement. Now that's easy to say, but things don't happen if you just rely on the community as a whole. Things don't happen if you have town hall meetings and decide to have a vote. It doesn't work. The only way we found it to work is you've got to get key individuals, a small number of people that have got the time, the talent, the personality to make the thing happen. And that's a key thing that you've got to look at. The other thing you better come to terms with is not all the community will care. A great number of them will say, I don't care if that facility closes, nothing at all to do with me. So there's a big element of inertia in the community that you've got to address. However, if you do get into the community, find out who's there, there is an amazing talent base. Whether it be artistic, whether it be business, whether it be practical, there's a fantastic talent base in your community that can help. Lastly, I suggested friends. The way we set our business up is we became a limited company, and under our founding agreements, the members of the company were the original 5 directors. That's who owned the company. It wasn't the community, it was individuals. So we had to look at bases, ways in which the directors could be controlled. And we introduced a concept, and I think that's been introduced elsewhere for similar reasons. We introduced the concept of Friends of Cove Burgh Hall. So when you become a friend of Cove Burgh Hall, pass across £10 to the hall, then you automatically become a member of the company. So you therefore have a direct say in how the company is run. You have a direct say in hiring and firing directors. Going on from community involvement, take you to council commitment. I had a bit of a smile earlier on when Brenda was telling me about how all this asset transfer would work. It didn't quite work that way for us, I have to say. But, so the first thing I would say is get legal advice, your own legal advice in place on day one. If you're going to have any ongoing arrangement with the council about some commitment that the council or you have to give, make sure you have a written agreement as to what that is going to be. In our case, our Glen Butte Council gave us a plan of what Cove Burgh Hall was going to be. We looked at the plan, said that's great. We handed over our pound, we got on and started to run the business. Glen Butte Council then sent us a letter about a year later. By the way, see that land that we're going to sell to you? Yep. Well, we've already sold some of it to somebody else. So we were left in the position where, even to this day, the council are still trying to sort out, through the legal services, getting a proper title deed transfer put in place. We also had the occasion that we were given verbal assurances that the council would carry on using the building as a public library. Now they did that for a few years, but then council struck council. They then decided to close the public library and they walked away from it. Now they contributed something like 10% of our income, so it left a big hole for us that we had to fill. So get written agreements in place, get your own legal advice. Through Oscar, I think you've been talking about most organisations will become charitable organisations, but it's not a charity, you've got to run it as a business. That for someone who's just sitting in the community, that is a difficult thing to get in place earlier on, but it is fundamental to making a success of your project. So things like founding agreements, these are not things for sticking in the bottom drawer or things to be on top of your desk in front of you. Getting business plans, make yourself think realistically about what's going to happen in the next 5 years. Get financial control in place. You've got to be seen to be running the business correctly. So it's all about accountability and visibility. You've got to get an organisational structure in place early on. If you leave it to a few people, it will fall because it's too much for one or two persons to carry. You need to broaden the number of people you involve. Cash flow forecasting is something that we came a cropper with early on, not knowing that in 6 months' time we might be insolvent. So you've got to start looking forward and seeing where pitfalls are coming and sort them out early. Obvious things like operating procedures. We're a hall that we rent out facilities, so you've got to have hiring agreements that are fair to everyone. You've got to have operating procedures for health and safety. And lastly, you've got to think about succession planning. Now, as you can see from Richard and I, we've failed in that wee bit. Lastly, self-funding. And we'll put that up because don't rely on grants. We've been successful over the years in getting that, but don't rely on grants. They're variable, they're here today, they're gone tomorrow. Think in terms of you've got to generate your own income to meet your own expenditures. Things that you've got to consider are such as, are you going to have unpaid volunteers running the business, or are you going to employ staff? If you go down the volunteer route, then you've got a low-cost base, but you're relying very heavily on people putting the effort in to make that business work. You've got to make assessments for what capital reserves you need to build up for things that you might want to do in the future. Getting money in place for a rainy day. Now, I don't know what happens about the rain here, but down in Cove, every year it rains woodworm. And I have to tell you, clearing up from woodworm is quite expensive. So you've got to plan for that. I think you've also got to address what can users of your facility afford to pay. And most organisations are relying on people turning up for very small sums. So maybe it'll cost them £5 a night to come and play table tennis or whatever. In our case, users contribute about 50% of our gross income, and we consciously keep our hire rates down to ensure the maximum use of the facility by the local community. But that puts us into the position of having to find other sources of income. So that's a lot about fundraising, and that's where our theatre comes into it, but also looking for donations. Can you get people to put you into their will? I mean, you've got to be really quite lateral thinking about how you get other people or other monies into the business. So I think that's what I've got to say. 5